Good afternoon, and welcome to Expansion of Consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Medlock, and today we have a very special guest, Corbie Mitlied. And Corbie Mitlied has been a psychic, a medium, a number of things that she's been able to do throughout her career, a tarot card reader, just a true intuitive. And we're so excited to have Corbie on the show today. I'm gonna give you a little bit of background about Corbie before we get started. Corbie has been reading since 1973, traveling coast to coast into Canada as a full-time intuitive counselor and spiritual speaker and facilitator. Corbie certifications and affiliations include Tarot Master and Psychic Certified Professional Tarot Reader, member of the American Tarot Association and the Tarot Guild. An ordained minister, the sanctuary of the beloved. She's been all over the place, ladies and gentlemen. Again, she's a trained medium and past life specialist. Corbie is a featured channel in Robert Schwartz breakthrough series, Your Soul's Plan, Your Soul's Gift, and Your Soul's Love. And as herself, she's an author of Clean Out Your Life Closet, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, and You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? Corbie prides herself on being a practical intuitive. Despite her elegant clothes and table trappings, most people say sitting with her is comfortable, safe experience that feels like they're with a long-term friend, not a stranger, spouting a bunch of mystical hoodoo or pretense. And she's doesn't believe in bad news. We have opportunities to go after and heal our past and get past those challenges. She's firmly says these things after dealing with 3 times being a breast cancer patient. Corbie has learned firsthand, my job is to give you the tools to encourage to deal with both situations. Everything else is free will, and basically it's up to you. Without any further ado, I'm going to bring on Miss Corbie right now. Hey, Corbie, how are you?
Hey, Jason, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I know I kind of muddled up your biography, but I know that we're going to spend enough time to where if I made any mistakes, you'll make sure that we got that got it very, very clear.
Okay.
So how are you today? I mean, when people hear about psychic mediums and tarot card readers, the first thing they think of is, oh, you know what, how can you believe that this last lady gave me a reading before? You can't trust all readers. They're not the same. What do you say to that kind of stuff?
For one thing, yes, I know they assume we're all a Madame Hoo-Ha or a Swami Swalanda. And frankly, if they're skeptical, I love that because it means they're probably not going to get swallowed up by the first bad reader they go to. So that's
Exactly.
cool with me, you know. Um, I've been doing this full time since 9/11, 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. I read about 1,000 people a year. If I was really that much of a fake, I don't think I'd still be in business.
Yeah, we know that, you've helped countless people with understanding their past lives, with,
Mhm.
understanding the incarnation process. And in a way, um, I do the same thing. I'm not a psychic medium, although I understand the process.
Mhm.
Using QHHT, I'm able to tap into the subconscious mind and the higher self to get that same type of information.
Mhm.
uh, Past lives, we review those as well. Tell me this: how'd you get interested in past lives?
Well, the way I explain it is when spirit taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hello, here's your draft notice. You're working for us." If you say yes, they're going to go rifling in your file cabinet to see what you got. What do I have? Theater major at Brown University, and I was a professional actress in New York in the late 80s and early 90s. So I understand story and character. Words are my drug of choice. I'm a writer, so I can tell the stories. And I have been interested in history since I was a little kid in single digits. You put all that together, And Spirit understands that your best tools are going to be tarot and oracle cards, where you can lay out the story for the client, and past life retrieval. Now, notice I said retrieval, not regression. It's a totally different thing. And
Hmm.
people need to understand the difference. Past life regression is when you're the one that gets hypnotized and you go wandering around in the Akashic to see what you can see. But that must only be done by a certified hypnotherapist, because if all of a sudden you are reliving a death or a very traumatic situation, they have the psychological tools to pull you away just enough that you can observe, but not get stuck in it. Now, people who just want to know stuff, but don't want to do that themselves, they come to me. They say, here's my problem. Is it a past life? And I'm the one who goes up to the Akashic, grabs the book and says, read chapter 2. It's about this. It is less visceral, but just as useful.
Wow. That's interesting. And sort of the same type of process. Once again, uh, hypnosis can be done online. But when you're using a different type of hypnosis, a deeper quantum level type hypnosis,
Yeah.
such as QHHT, we can't do that online. We have to be there with you for the same reasons you said.
What if
If
something goes wrong and then all of a sudden the power goes? That person is stuck.
when I drop you off of the cloud, and if I drop you off and you're being burned at the stake, and I have to be there with you to calm you down. So that's really interesting. Tell me this. What are some of the more interesting past lives you've been able to experience while working with a client?
Well, I see them like a movie. And two of my very favorite stories for when people say, well, why is it useful now? Both happened at psychic fairs. The first one, a woman came to me and said, all right, I just don't know what to do about my son. He's 29, still won't do anything without me talking about it, won't live more than a mile from me. What is going on? So go upstairs, and in a minute I say, all right, I'm seeing 1944 Utah Beach. So this is D-Day. Your son is a soldier. He came onto the beach, got hit with shrapnel, his legs pretty badly mangled. You're his commanding officer. You drag him over a dune. You take some shrapnel too, but you both get out of there alive. And I open my eyes and she looks at me and she says, can you see my rank? I go, yeah, you were a sergeant. She goes, he's called me Sarge since he was 3 years old, and we've never understood why.
Oh my God.
Second one, there was a woman, from the Midwest, had no historical connection, family connection to the Civil War, but was terribly fascinated by it. She wanted to know why. So I closed my eyes again, went upstairs and said, okay, I'm seeing a small whitewashed room. Ceiling is very low, and you have two tall gentlemen, one in civilian, one in military clothes, and they're kind of bending over because they're too tall for the room. You're kneeling by the rickety bed, looking at the clothing. It looks about 1862-3. It's dark gray with black soutache trim on the sleeves, the peplum, and the hem. In the rickety iron bed is a little old black woman who is dying, and all of you are filled with grief because she was brought from a Mississippi plantation. She was this close to getting to the end of the Underground Railroad, but she was going to die before you could get her there. And I opened my eyes, and the woman's tears streaming down her face. She said, I have had that exact dream for 20 years, and I never knew what it meant.
Wow.
That's why it's important. No, if you come to me and say, I must have been Anne Boleyn because I can't wear turtlenecks, no, darling, we're not doing a session.
And when I see clients, Corbie, and I know you may hear this as well, but I try to tell my clients that when they say I've been dreaming this for forever, your subconscious mind, your higher self puts these images, these dreams in your memory for
Yes.
a purpose. It's for a purpose that's helping you in this current lifetime, this current incarnation. And if you can take note of your dreams and record them, they begin to tell a story. And it's speaking on in this current lifetime, explain to me your knowledge and what you've experienced with reincarnation, and what's your take? What do you think it really is?
Well, when someone says, well, the Bible says we only live once, I look at them and say, and you're absolutely right. Because here's the deal: our higher self, our soul, is what incarnates time and time again. Jason, Corbie, this recipe is one and done. And to explain it the simple way, I say, let's take the actor Matt Smith. Okay. Matt was the 11th Doctor on Doctor Who. He was my doctor. But when he was done there, he hung up the bow tie and the two short pants. And then he went to play Prince Philip in the first two seasons of The Crown. And then when he was done with that, he hung up the Prince Philip suit, and now he's some whack job on House of the Dragon. Think of Matt Smith as your higher self. The Doctor, the Prince, and the whack job are all incarnations. They're very different people. They wouldn't necessarily be friends, but they are all things that the higher self wanted to learn about, so they put themselves in different places, different situations. That's also why you don't remember every single past life. If you're a janitor in Des Moines and all of a sudden you realize, yes, you were Napoleon Bonaparte, you think you're going to be happy slinging a mop unless there's a deep thing you have to learn? No, you're not. So you only remember those lives that have something to heal or teach or support you with in the life that your soul has given you now.
You know, coming from the school of Dolores Cannon, I've heard countless lectures, even in my training to become a QHHT practitioner. And in Dolores' words, they don't want you to remember anything when you incarnate. Imagine remembering thousands of past lives while you're trying to work in this particular past life when you reincarnate. And she used to talk about that all the time on all of the stock courses and in the video. But she also talked about that we were planning our incarnation with others who are already here, some that are there that will come later. The conversation we're having, you and I got together in the spiritual realm and planned this conversation at some point. We knew that we would meet. And let me ask you this, Corbie, how does it feel to explore a different aspect of yourself right now?
Weird.
Because I'm the different aspect of you and you're a different aspect of me.
That's true.
Yes.
Now, see, one of the reasons a lot of us have trouble with those philosophical and metaphysical concepts
Yes.
is a tiny bit of your soul is what's in these little bitty bodies. And our brain has a limited amount of capability when we're in physical form. And to think that you're going to understand all of it is like you're going to walk an ant into a calculus class. Not only can he not figure out all the things that are on the board, he cannot hold a pencil in his whittle paw. So none of us has the absolute answer. We just don't. We're not going to know until we go up there.
It's too much for us to understand.
Exactly. So we take what pieces we can. For instance, one of the big things that Robert Schwartz developed is karma is not carrot and stick, bad and good. Karma is 5 things: unbalanced energy, which is in neutral, healing, service, contrast, and healing of beliefs. And when you understand it that way, you look at other people's lives in a totally different light. And the example I love to use is Ryan White. If you remember, Ryan White was the kid that got AIDS from a blood transfusion in the late 80s and early 90s when we knew nothing. They just assumed that he was a horrible person, depraved, whatever. His family was made a pariah. He was hounded out of school. They were treated very cruelly. But then Elton John found him, got a hold of him, became friends with the family, played at Ryan's funeral, and was so deeply moved by Ryan's courage in the face of all of this that it inspired Elton to get off his drugs, drinking, and everything else he was on. He's still clean and sober to this day. And start the Elton John AIDS Foundation, which has raised over $500 million for HIV and AIDS research worldwide. Now, other people in the old days might have said, ooh, he must have been a horrible person, bad karma, look what God did to him. Understanding it now, the higher self said, well, short life, painful life, but look at what can result if we are willing to do this. So instead of saying bad karma, you look and you see that the incarnation of Ryan White, the soul, was here in service to the hundreds and thousands and millions of people Ryan would never meet, but whose life he could materially affect for the better.
You see me smiling because you are absolutely right. Because sometimes, like you said, we think that Hitler was bad, but he incarnated for a purpose.
Mhm.
We learned from that. Millions learned from Hitler, and it changed the way we live in this society. And the kid Ryan, and he incarnated for that purpose
Mhm.
to help um Elton John at some point in his career
Mhm.
gain that and help thousands, maybe millions. So incarnation is much deeper than that. And
Yes.
but I want to go ahead. I got some else to ask you
So,
too. Go ahead.
okay. The one thing that we want to make sure readers or listeners understand is no, we're not saying, Hitler was a good person and we're glad he came down to do everything.
No.
Sometimes humanity is so damn stupid that it
Yes.
needs the biggest kick in the butt that spirit can give it. And whether that was Hitler, Genghis Khan, Judas, Trump,
They
who knows?
incarnated for a reason. Yes.
Exactly. And the key is use what you're learning from that to make the world a better place.
I've often heard that, when people um have a chance to sit with a psychic,
Mhm.
they want to know the future. They want to know the future. And then they hear things that they don't want to hear.
Mhm.
Can that person change their future because they heard something in a reading that they did not like?
Maybe. You can't say blanket yes or blanket no.
Hmm.
But when I read, I am not a fortune teller saying this is it and you can't do anything. I encourage my clients to ask empowering questions. If you said to me, I want to open up my own broadcast studio, is it going to be successful? I would look at you and go, and what if I said no and you're going to lose everything and live in a box under a bridge? Wrong question. You ask, how do I make it rock and roll? Then it's a multiple card spread, a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Gives you so much that you can work with that your free will can move forward with it. Now, what about the does Bruce love me question, which to this day is still 95% of the stuff I get. Girl comes to me and says, I really like Bruce. We've been together for a while, but it's very troublesome. What do you see? Card for her, or card for Bruce, a card for the relationship as it stands, what she needs to know, and best possible outcome. Then I shut it. If she says, I still don't know what to do, then I do what I call the 3 threes. 3 cards for status quo, no change, you just kind of bumble along. 3 cards for what I laughingly call the come to Jesus meeting, where it's serious counseling, a line in the sand, we must make change. 3 cards for hostile, bye bye, it's been nice, I'll send you a postcard, but I'm gone. And even if the lead has the Beetlejuice sign, I must sit back and let her make the decision. Why? Because it's free will and it's not mine to take away. The only time I don't do that is if she says she's been gaslit, beaten, abused, then the reader's turban comes off, the pastoral counselor red collar goes on, and I work with her to see how she can leave that dangerous situation. But that's the exception, not the rule. We are not the repairman of your life. We say, here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox. You're the one that has to fix your life, not us. Because if you think it's us, that opens you up to the Madam Hoo-Has and the Swami Swalandas. You go, oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4. You have dog? $50 every family member. 25 for dog. He's small. We fix. And set you up to owe them money forever. You don't want to do that.
And we do have parallel lives, and every time we think a thought and we act on that thought, we move in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
But there's what if we thought another thought? Then that's when you have the multidimensional splits, and that's when you get the parallel lives and get the
Mm-hmm.
same um copy of this particular spirit, the blueprint, the soul blueprint,
Mm-hmm.
living the exact same life, but it's a little bit different. Dolores Cannon talks about that in the convoluted universe. I mean, she has eight volumes on that one subject, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so fascinating. A lot of the things that you're saying, I've already read this kind of stuff before, and here I am speaking with a psychic medium who understands that, yes, Jason, these things are true. And for people that are watching right now who may have gone to a psychic or may be looking to start to consult with a psychic medium, um, how do they know what kind of questions to ask a psychic? I mean, the typical questions are, will I be rich? Should I be married? What kind of questions can be asked or should
See, I'm
be asked?
looking at it like, the teacher over the glasses look here.
Yes, yeah.
You want to ask the things that will move you forward in life.
Yes,
Your spirit guides are not going to give you the lottery numbers, kids. I mean, number one, me first. And number two, if your psychic isn't at least driving a Lexus, how do you know? They know. Spirit guides want to help us with our serious spiritual stuff. But as far as what to ask and even how to choose a psychic, that is why I wrote my second book right here, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, How to Find
I
the Real
love it.
Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys. And the reason I wrote that was almost 20 years ago. Remember what I just told you about the family curse story?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
watched that happen at a very large fair in Toronto, 250 booths. And no matter how good the promoters are, they can't vet everybody at a huge fair. And we watched a woman go, walking down the aisles, and the fake gypsy comes out, grabs her arm, says, "You don't need to pay 30, 40, $50. I read your palm for 10. Come." Drags the woman into the booth. We see the woman leave. 20 minutes later, crying hysterically. We go over, we ask what happened. Sure. And the psychic gypsy said if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles in the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good, only $1 candle. Her entire family was going to die in a car accident in 2 weeks. She bought it. That's why I wrote this book. You know, you want to go to an art museum and you love sculpture. It doesn't mean you want to come home with a chisel and a block of marble and go find the camel inside. You just
Right.
want to enjoy sculpture. There are tons of very good books out there about psychic development, how you can do what I do, because we all can. We're all wired the same. But if all you want to do is go and find a good intuitive counselor, that's what this book is for. And I don't care if you never come to me after you read this. This is not one of those books that says, this is everything you have to know. And oh, by the way, I'm the only good psychic who does it. If
Well,
you read this and you go to somebody else and have a good reading, the book did its job.
well, you hopped on that book. I was going to talk about the book, the Clean Out Your Life Closet.
Yeah.
In that book, which is interesting, you talk about the three-legged stool.
Hmm.
What is
Yes.
that?
The three-legged stool is the three-legged stool of clarity. If you get clear on your purpose, clear in your relationships, and clear on your relationship with spirit,
Yes.
you're solid. You can go anywhere and deal with whatever comes up.
Wow. Wow. And that is a interesting concept.
Mhm.
Um, you know, just trying to understand, how to use and how to interpret these signs and interpret these feelings. And one of the things I wanted to ask you earlier is that you're able to speak to people and give them this information that they need. Now, from your perspective, and this is me digging behind the
Mhm.
scenes, the level of feeling that you have, the level that you're able to touch, taste, smell, temperature. These are the things that you use to even give the readings.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering if we can dive into behind the scenes, you know, these gifts that you have, or just modified gifts. We all have the same gifts. Yours
Mhm.
probably are a bit stronger. Is that what you're using to actually be able to feel, actually be able to give the information to the client this modified sense of emotion?
Maybe it's one of the tools.
Mhm.
When you go into a doctor's office, they've got a stethoscope, they've got X-ray machines, they've got things to take your blood, blood pressure machines. It depends on what is going on. Now, the key to all of this is I am just the tube it comes through. It ain't me.
Yes.
You know, um, one of the things that I worry about are the psychics who think, "Mwah, mwah, I'm so good, my aura don't stink." Oh, please. We are all here in service. And that's what it is. You are not the one who is necessarily fixing someone's life. They have to do it themselves. You are what I call a way shower. They're coming along their life. Here you are in your little hut in the woods. They come in, they talk to you, and then they go on.
Mm.
Some of us are amazing souls. Paramahansa Yogananda, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay. They are way showers on a larger basis, and Yogananda was a transcendental soul. But your ego is the worst thing for doing this work.
Mm.
Your ego is what you construct to help you live in the world, and that's great. But you must put your ego aside when you're doing this work. And a perfect example is when I was channeling someone's higher self for them for Robert Schwartz's second book, there was a chapter on miscarriage and abortion. And when I got my copy of the book, I read what I was supposed to have said. And I called Rob. I said, "Rob, this can't be right." He says, "Do you want me to play the recording?" And I stopped. I said, "I guess not." But that tells me that I was absolutely channeling, because everything that that higher self was telling its personality down here is the opposite of what I believe. Okay. Doesn't mean either of us are wrong. But what it means is my ego was put on the shelf reading a magazine in order to get the true information for this person in this situation. That's a good intuitive.
The death of the human ego. Be here now. And that's a
Mhm,
book I read, and I also experienced it. And I have a book coming out this spring,
mhm,
Expansion of Consciousness, the
mhm,
infinite abilities we possess from within.
mhm,
And one of the chapters focuses on psychedelics. And the death of the human ego is a real thing.
mhm,
Experiencing the ego face to face
mhm,
and looking at yourself, how bad you talk to people, or how bad in the past that your words have affected others. Trying to minimize the human ego is the key to a lot of things that everyone can experience. You can experience a higher level of many things if we can
mhm.
begin to just not identify as much as you would like to. And the ego is something that's, man, it's good for us, and it could be bad for us as well.
Yes, exactly. We need it to live down here because our ego is what helps us work with life challenges that our higher self sets up in our pre-birth plan.
You know,
But
I want to get, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
but it can get in the way. Now, you go.
I want to get back to your books, because you know you were showing those, and let's just go and let's just spend some time, talking about each one of them.
Mhm,
We mentioned you started off with yeah, the Yellow Brick Road, and you spoke a little bit about that,
mhm,
and we talked about clean out your life closet,
mhm.
but the magic. You've got the magic.
Who needs a
Who needs a
genie?
genie? And then talk about them all three in general.
Okay. All right.
And
There are
ladies and
nine things.
gentlemen, before Miss Corbie gets started, her website is right here below, www.corbiemitleid.com, mitlead.com, www.
Midlife. You got it right the first
I
time.
got it right the first
Midlife.
time.
Yes.
CorbieMitleid.com. Ladies and gentlemen, she is an established psychic medium. There are not a lot of tricks with this. There are people out here that aren't as established or may not know what they feel, and that's fine too. Everybody has a starting point. But Corbie is an established medium that when you take the time, and I've written a book, and she's written 3 more than me, you are sitting there with thought and intent and purpose. You can't fake it. People will find you out if you are. It's easy. If you can read, you'll find out if it's just some Google. But go ahead, Corbie. I just wanted to give you that that push right there.
You're very kind. You're very kind. I write nonfiction because that's what I want to share with the world. Now, you wanted to go to You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? Look, I've been doing this stuff for 50 years since I was a senior in high school in 73. I was on the road for 18 years, 45 weekends a year, 45,000 miles on the road. My nickname was the Travel Channel.
Mm.
But in the summer of 2019, herniated disc and pinched nerve, baby, that makes having triplets feel like a tea party. I mean, pain was off the charts. So in about I got better, but the doctor said, well, your career is toast. We're really sorry, but you can't do the 10-hour drives one way. You can't do the heavy lifting, load in, load out. So all of a sudden, what I did was have to move everything that I did online. And it was 4 months of very hard work. But by November, it was all set. What happened in March of 2020, but the advent of the years of Murder Hornet Bingo and Hold My Beer. And everybody who had to go out to psychic fairs to do their work, they tanked. Spirit had said, we need you to still do your work, so we're going to make you move it online. My business has never been better. I love the idea that I'm sitting here talking to you. My 22-pound Maine Coon cat is snoozing on the cat tree next to me. I love working from home. And I wouldn't have discovered this unless Spirit did what it did, because I was having too much fun being a road warrior. So because I'm off the road, everything in You've Got the Magic is what I learned.
Wow.
And it's why reinvent the wheel, kids? You know, I'm 68, 20, 30 years, I'm not going to be here. We need you to step up. But also in that book are things that I call Corbie Gets Candid, which is what differentiates it from your standard, well, this is how to do a business book. And the example that I use for people is that in the back, I show you an example of my sign-in sheets that I always had at my desks, and everyone had to fill in. Why? Because in the beginning, I did a reading for a young man in London, Ontario, and he didn't like what I had to tell him. And the next morning, I found an anonymous death threat on my desk. Now, it was a handwritten note. I had my sign-in sheet with handwriting. We matched it up. We handed it to the Ontario police, and they handled it. Just because you are doing this work, it doesn't mean everybody is love and light filled with unicorns and glitter. It is a dangerous world out there, especially the more polarized we get. So this book tells you how to run your business well, but also what you need to think about, that unless you've been there and done that, you may not know. And I don't want you to have to discover it through a bad situation. That's why that book was written.
That's good stuff. Wow. And I'm encouraging everyone to go out and begin to explore Corbie's books, because they're at Amazon. The website link, let me put it up again. Corbie Mitleid.com, Corbie Mitleid.com. Corbie, can every psychic talk to dead people? We just got to clear a lot of this stuff up.
No. And that's the difference between a psychic and a medium. All mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. Just like all pediatricians are doctors, but not all doctors are pediatricians. Mediums talk to dead people.
Yes.
They do. Channels, psychics, get information that by our standard 5 we don't get. Channels talk to spirit guides, angels, your soul, ETs, things like that. Tarot readers, crystal balls, psychometry, these are all tools that we can use to get that intuitive information. But a medium talks to dead people specifically. And not even all mediums use the same methodologies. A lot of you will see people that they just say, well, who's around me? And someone will go and pick things out. That's not what I do. But the best medium I ever knew, her name was Allie Cheslick. She was a dear friend of mine. Psychic Yellow Brick Road is dedicated to her. We called her Chatty Cathy of the Dead.
Wow.
You couldn't shut her up when she started. But with me, because I'm very conscious of time constraints and wanting to make sure we get the right people, I ask you for your dog tags on the person. For instance, if I wanted to speak to my father, it would be my father, Jerome Richard Dorkin, who died in 2001 at the age of 80. Notice that tells me nothing, but gets me into the energy right away. And what my guides do is they play charades. They smoked, they had an accident, there was something wrong in, heart, lungs. I don't know why, but they do. And once you say yes, these specific things, 3 or 4 of them, that's my dead person. I open things up and let you talk to them directly. I tell them exactly what their dead person is saying. Doesn't sound like them, but I don't change words. But that's why I won't do mediumship in public, because my ego again is on the shelf. I don't censor. And the very quick story, there was a biracial same gender couple. The black partner had died. Her white widow wanted to speak with her. Now you guys look at this face. This is a kid from Cherry Hill, New Jersey that has manners. But once I connected, what came out of my mouth in flawless urban ebonics should not come out of this face. Should not. And I heard myself say it, and then I kind of went, oh my God. But the woman in front of me nodded and laughed, because those 2 phrases are what her deceased partner would say every time she came into the house from a business trip. But it was the kind of stuff that should not be said by this person on a public stage. So for me, mediumship is one-on-one. Past lives I can do in a gallery. That's easy. But mediumship is intensely personal and private, so that you can have true conversations with the person who's moved on.
And you're absolutely correct, because I can say, everybody is psychic, but
Yes, they are.
everybody's not a medium. And I'm not a medium, but I exercise my psychic abilities very, very well. I'm a professional remote viewer, a scientific remote viewer, and an associate remote viewer. And we access psychic abilities to locate unknown objects that are unknown to us, and identify.
See, I think what you do is incredibly cool, but it's not in my wheelhouse.
Right.
But it's nice to know someone who does it, because that's the other thing. If you are a professional intuitive and you don't do something, you send your client to the person who does.
Exactly.
You want serious health stuff, I send you to my buddy Stacy Wells. You want stuff that would be done by a bruja, I send you to my buddy Katrina Rasbold. And now I will have people, when they want remote viewing, I send them to you.
Exactly.
Because that is professionalism.
You can remote view injuries. You can remote view now. Associate remote viewing allows you to basically be a tarot card reader using associate remote viewing. I predict the future outcomes of games. I predict the future outcomes of stocks. I can answer any question that you would ask a tarot card reader. Now, they will be yes and no questions. They won't be full-throated. Maybe
they won't have nuance, is what you're saying.
Yes, you would give them more nuance. I can just access the ability to tap into what my higher self is connecting with, these set of numbers. And I do all this on numbers or pictures. That's why I was asking you sight, touch, taste, smell, temperature. I use all of the natural abilities that Ingo Swann used, because he was a psychic. He was I'm not sure if Ego was a medium, but Ingo Swann, the most famous psychic in America, was a professional remote viewer, and that's how remote viewing basically got started. But we're running out of time. I got to ask you this.
Yes.
What are the warning signs for a bad psychic? Let the audience know that as well.
All right. A bad psychic will tell you that whatever you believe is wrong, and you have to believe what the psychic does. The bad psychic will tell you that somehow you're connected with them in a past life, so you have to give them extra money or let them live with you, etc., etc., etc. The bad psychic will say that your house or your money or your jewelry, etc., is cursed, and they have to hold it on their altar and bless it for you. Trust me, guys, we can do it from a distance. Or you come in off a bad relationship and the psychic makes moves on you. Just run.
Right, and trying to go out on a date and drinks. Yes.
Yeah, you fall in love with your psychic, go get married, have lots of indigo children, but find somebody else to read for you.
You know, growing up, Corbie, everybody talked about the Ouija boards. And when you move them around, you know, this tells you this. Corbie, what are they all really about? These boards, these Ouija games. Can you talk about that just briefly?
Oi, Jason. All right. Ouija boards are frankly dangerous, especially because most people who use them don't know how to ground center and shield. Using a Ouija board when you don't know how to protect yourself is like throwing open the door in a strange neighborhood and yelling free beer. You don't know who's out there, and they heard you and they're coming. And for everybody who says it's in the toy department, if your kid said, Mommy, Mommy, that's the toy I want, and it's my first chainsaw, are you going to let the kid play with it by himself? Probably not. Have a little sense, guys.
You're right. And you have to, and I've always heard they were dangerous. And it's dangerous when you're operating in the spiritual realm, even when you're astral traveling. You have to understand how to astral travel, how to defend yourself against dark energy, which are other beings. This spiritual realm is just not, oh, it's so bright and it's white. It's very beautiful, but on the other hand, there are challenges there that people have to be concerned with. But so can you give us, give the audience, you know, some tips or again, how to contact you in a few last words before we get out, before we close it up?
Sure. For one thing, yes, you can go to my website, which is CorbieMitleid.com. And there are hundreds of articles on there about things like spiritual awakening and past lives and stuff you're going to want to read about. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Pinterest. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Medium. If you want to work with me on a regular basis to learn, you go find me on Patreon. But the most important thing is this: you can do what I do. We are all wired like the same house plan. It's the circuit breaker on or off. So don't look at us as magic. Just look at us as professionals who love what we do. And if you want to do what we do, absolutely, you are welcome. There are 8 billion people in the world, kids. We can't read them all. We need you.
Okay, I'm gonna move you to the back office. Stay there. Do not go anywhere. I'm gonna be right back to you. I'm gonna close this thing out. Corbie Mitleid, a wonderful human being, a wonderful young lady who's been doing this for a number of years. Psychic medium, not psychic, psychic medium. And we understand now the difference between those two. But give Corbie a chance. Go to her website, CorbieMitleid.com, CorbieMitleid.com, and explore the books, explore some of the services that she offers. You may not think that you need a psychic in your life or a tarot card reader in your life, but you'd be surprised. Even the most successful people in the world have spiritual coaches, have spiritual connections with people who help them make the right decisions. And Corbie is one of those brilliant and talented people out there that can do the same thing. We thank you for showing up and showing out again on Expansion of Consciousness and just viewing the program and giving it an opportunity to sink in so that you can pull information and figure out how to increase abundance in your life, how to grow the things you want to grow within you. Thank you for press and subscribe on our YouTube channel. We need it. And thank you for supporting us. Good night to you. I'm Jason Medlock, and we'll see you the next time. Goodbye.